Good morning, everybody. I'm excited about this panel discussion and was really disappointed that I had a scheduling conflict. Um, and I feel like I'm missing something because I know that there's something that occurs when we're all in the same room, the dynamic of actually being in discussion. So know that I'm with you in spirit. And I think what I'll probably do is just supply some pre-recorded answers to be a part of this discussion. Um, and I want to say thank you so much for having me, and a special thanks to all of our panel and to Carol for moderating. So looking forward. And in this case, the case of Exquisite, the poetry and life of Gwendolyn Brooks, this was written by Suzanne Slade. And Tamar Braces over at Abrams Books sent me a manuscript inviting me to tell the story of Gwendolyn Brooks's life visually. In this case, I was supplied with some very beautiful prose, but the notion of doing something with Gwendolyn Brooks was extremely an honor because I had known of her when I was a little girl and her poetry and little bits, about her life. The fact that she did hail from the city of Chicago and was dedicated to her craft and to her community. But I felt that this project was an opportunity to learn even more about her and to delve a little bit deeper. I'm going to just read a portion from the acknowledgments page, and it's me giving a shout out to the University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign's Rare Book and Picture Library, where all of Mrs. Brooks's papers are housed and archived. And so I say, holding her handwritten papers and notebooks in my very hands was like her message in a bottle, so overwhelming and tender it reverberates. Doing the research for the illustrations illuminated just how Gwendolyn Brooks overshadowed and transcended lack, limitation, oppression, and every established boundary line with the power of her discipline and the persistence of her love. Thank you, Gwendolyn Brooks. You speak still. So I have this collection of Schomburg Library's 19th century Black women's narratives, and you can pluck any volume out of that collection, and there's your answer right there if you're interested in the power of authentic storytelling. We know in storytelling there is something that gets transmitted that goes beyond words and retelling even of experiences or the incidences of one's imagination, that has the power to actually to change lives when it resonates. And how do you get to that authenticity? It's like the difference between pulling a thread and having access to the entire cloth, the difference between the vein when searching for treasure and the mother lode. And if I could borrow from the genre of jazz, anyone who takes an interest can play jazz, and do it really, really well. But not everyone can invent it. And so, like, getting to these centers of source as opposed to the thinness of derivative, it makes all the difference. It's like the difference between the object and a shadow. And I'll take the object any day. Any Black girl would light up seeing herself represented and reflected on the pages through Gwendolyn Brooks's story. That's one thing. But one of I think the messages of the book is that no matter the conditions of your birth, you know, there is in fact divine greatness that resides on the inside of you that is seeking expression through you, and it requires that you identify it, even if it's the adults in your life around you taking note, that you've got something special, like whatever that is, that it would require that you learn how to cultivate, to apply this gift, and then ultimately, as you're developing it, to be willing to share it. And in this case, the young Gwendolyn Brooks did send her words out into the world, and to share them, and they were published by the Chicago Tribune newspaper, as well as her poem Eventide was published by American Childhood magazine. And so this message of identifying and cultivating, applying, and working through your expression, I think would definitely inspire all children. And I think in the case of Gwendolyn Brooks, she wrote about the people as she got a little older and a little more seasoned. She wrote about her life. She said poetry comes out of life. And so it was not uncommon for her to sort of use her neighbors' stories and journeys as part of, some of the work that she was creating. And these were supposedly, quote unquote, everyday people, but the authenticity of her writing, and that's why I say powerful storytelling happens not through just the letters of the words, but actually the spirit that is being communicated. And that was, in fact, recognized and acknowledged. So in this spread, Gwendolyn Brooks I'm representing her in high school, and she was something of a misfit. She could not fit in anywhere with any particular group, and she attended an all-white high school, an all-black high school, and an integrated mixed high school, and nowhere did she find her tribe. And so I borrowed from my own personal experience, which is what I love to do in illustration. I think when you're telling a story, it's also just really great to infer. And oftentimes, some of our inferences are drawn from personal experience. And I was that child who could not turn, or I was told by the neighborhood children that I could not turn double Dutch and that I was double-handed. And double-handed means that you're not turning alternately in sync and in rhythm. And no matter how hard I tried, I just never got good enough at it that anyone would want me turning on one side of that double Dutch. And so I just thought about what it means when you don't fit in. I use that game because not all children possess that type of coordination and can do it. And I have her passing through there, shoulders hunched, with a stack of books under her arm, just sort of like passing through as opposed to engaging and being a part of. And the publisher did ask, when I sketched this scene out, because this is how I wanted to represent her not fitting in, if girls in high school would be turning double Dutch. And of course, this was like pre-device era. And in urban centers all over this country, Black girls, even high schoolers, were in fact jumping double Dutch. So that's something I could vouch for, just even based on my personal experience. Barriers to getting published. In this case, there was an existing manuscript, and the publisher did invite me to tell the story of Gwendolyn Brooks visually. And so in this case, the publisher was, in fact, committed to publishing the story of Gwendolyn Brooks. And so the barriers portion did not necessarily apply to this particular project.